Hi, I'm Angeline. I am on my way up to the Sandia cave near Placitas in New Mexico. It's a cave where some of the oldest human artifacts have been found in the American Southwest. It's also the site of one of the most controversial archaeological digs that's ever happened in the United States. The river down below is running hard, and it only must have been running even stronger back then at the end of the Pleistocene era. So, pretty excited to get up to the cave and just see what life was like up there. Oh my gosh, here it is. This has been such a hot spot for research for about 75 years that the Cibola National Forest built this protective stairway leading up to it, probably to help researchers, but probably also to help stabilize this cliffside. The Sandia cave was discovered in the 30s by an archaeologist named Frank Hibben. He was a student at the time, and he discovered the cave, and he found some Folsom spear points. And at that time, the Folsom people were considered to be the oldest people in North America, the most ancient humans in North America. And so he kept digging in this cave, and he went down, he swore that the cave was covered with a stalactite layer that was sealed. Stalactite, stalagmite, anyway, a calcification layer that was sealed. And he broke down through that first layer and found these first spear points. And as he kept digging, there was a yellow oxide layer that was sealed under another one of these calcification layers, and that he had to break through this unbroken seal down into a deeper level where he found he called a Sandia point, something completely new that people hadn't heard of, and that he dated to 26,000 years based on the level that it was found in, the level of geology it was found in. What I'm pretty mystified by is how they access this cave. This is the cliffside. It must have been from above. There must have been more of an overhang, and they traversed the cliff from above and then dropped down into the cave. Look at all the smoke stain. Wow. Thousands of years of smoke in this cave. This took the world by storm. There was an article in Time magazine, and he was touted as the archaeologist of the century, and he became extremely famous and a world figure. As the years went by, people started to question his findings, and there was even some suggestion that there had been fraud. One of the complaints about the cave was that there were pack rats found, all kinds of pack rat holes found in the layers that he was digging. He said it was an unbroken layer. Other people say that there was pack rat holes, and that pack rats had pulled the points from the surface that were actually at a younger layer down to the deeper layer. And that's where he found them in the deposit. That it wasn't an unbroken surface. It was riddled with pack rat trails. In fact, some of the people that called him out on this were some of his own researchers, some of the people that helped with the excavations. So this was a damning indictment. But what is the hole in that theory is that only the Sandia points were pulled down by the pack rats. The Folsom points stayed up at the younger level. Now, I don't think pack rats are particularly choosy about archaeology, so it's an unanswered question. Part of the mystery of this cave. I told one of the people that I was coming out to the Sandia cave, and he told me, well, here's what you need to do. And this is where it's lucky, because you talk to people and they tell you exactly what you need to know. So he pointed me toward the Turquoise Trail campground. And as I drive up to the campground, what's on the side of the building but Museum of Archaeology? At the campground is the Museum of Archaeology. too much. So I go into the place and I say, oh, I want to go into the museum. And they said, no, I'm sorry, the museum's closed. We don't have enough funding for it right now. I said, oh, that's a shame. All right then. And then in walks the archaeologist. And I said, hey, why don't you open the museum? And he said, no, I can't, but what are you doing here? I said, I'm going to the Sandia cave. And he said, well, funny enough, we used to actually have a grant to display the Sandia cave artifacts, and I know all about that. I had the opportunity to interview the excavators that excavated the cave in the years 40 and 41. I've read the whole monograph, I've read their field notes and their journals, and I have some stories to tell you. And so here's some of the stories. The two researchers that were left up here to excavate these caves, there's another cave called the Davis Cave, a little bit lower, and they were up here excavating. Hibbin had dropped them off to continue work digging these caves in the years 40 and 41, and he was supposed to bring them food and supplies once a week. Well, he neglected to do so, and they had to resort to eating prairie dogs. This is written in their journals. The archaeologist I was speaking to explained that he didn't see any evidence of fraud in the writings of this, the experiences of this dig. He credits it as being an actual dig and that there were no planted artifacts. He doesn't think it dates to 26,000 years. He thinks it probably does date to about 15,000 years, which is nothing to sneeze at. One of those two archaeologists who were left up here to dig had a dog, a really mean dog named Pal. And he was so antisocial and so horrible to be around people, so mean and so nasty, that they had to keep him away from people all the time. So during the day while they were up here in the Sandia cave digging, they had to keep Pal down in the Davis cave. And then at night, when they were down to the Davis cave to live and just relax for the evening, they had to bring Pal up to the Sandia cave because he always had to be separated from other people. Basically, there was a guard dog. There was a watchdog in these caves at all times, which prevented somebody from coming in and secretly slipping some artifacts in where they didn't belong. So the plaque down the hill, that was originally a plaque commemorating Frank Hibbin. And as the controversy built around his name, I think probably somebody took down the plaque, or maybe somebody stole the plaque. Frank Hibbin ultimately left a lot of money to the University of New Mexico, and there was a building named for him, which has also become a point of controversy. Another hole in the theory about the Sandia points being 26,000 years old is that the layer that they were found in actually ends up being dated to about 300,000 years ago. It's a little bit too long to credit anatomically modern humans from being here and making tools. So I just came out of the cave and I'm seeing this. I'm going to climb on up there and see what it's like over the cave, because I think the cave had to be accessed from above. Let's go see what's up there. Well, this is what's up here. Beautiful forest. Nice, easy, gentle landscape. Right now I'm standing directly over the cave. There must have been something more to this cliff here. There must have been an access point. Something broke off because there was clearly had to be some way to get in the cave from above. It's impossible from below. And I don't know how you would carry game and all kinds of things up that cliff. So much easier to come down right from this nice forest sitting on top of it. Now, there are some researchers, I'm not going to name names, there's at least one who takes literally the teachings of the Vedas and believes that people are millions of years old, and that he has no problem with artifacts being found in North America. 300,000 years old is it's peanuts in the grand scheme of time. I don't know, this is not my area of expertise, but personally, when I hear things about the Vedas or things about creation stories that bring people up from the mud, I'm thinking of that more in the sense of people philosophizing about time. And the Native Americans refer to all creatures as people. So if you hear ancient people talking about people, they could be meaning, amoeba, the ooze, primordial forces that ultimately created people. They were also people. So it's possible that the Vedas, counting time back millions of years, if they were talking about people, it doesn't necessarily mean us. It means people, the creative forces, because everything is a kind of people. Whoever you are, or however you come down on the debate of the Sandia cave, there's one thing for sure. It is an old cave. 15,000 years on New Mexico soil is an extremely archaic date. That dates well within the Paleo-Indian period. These people were hunters, gatherers, primarily hunters. There was lots of big game. Earth was verdant and moist, and there was lots of water, and it was probably a really wonderful time to be alive. If people were making sandals and different kinds of spear points, it makes sense. It's well within the archaeological time frame for people to have been here at that time. So even if it was 15,000 years ago, it's still a respectable amount of time to give to the Native Americans as part of their history.